All right, let's talk about something you've probably run into a million times. You know when you hear an English sentence and it just sounds a little off? You can't quite explain why, but your brain just flags it? Well, today we are going to crack the code on a super common grammar rule that, honestly, almost everyone breaks without even realizing it.
I mean, you've heard this one, right? It's literally one of the most famous slogans on the planet. And you hear stuff like this all the time in real life. I'm wanting a coffee, or I'm needing a break. It sounds totally normal, doesn't it?
So here's the big question. Is saying I'm loving it actually correct? The short answer? Not really. And the reason why is what's so cool. It opens up this whole hidden category of verbs that's going to change the way you look at English grammar. So let's dive in.
The key to this whole puzzle is a special group of verbs called state verbs. You might also hear them called stative verbs. Seriously, once you get a handle on these, so much of English grammar just suddenly clicks into place. It's a real game changer.
So what on earth is a state verb? It's actually pretty simple. It describes a condition or a state, not an action. Think of it as describing how things are, not what somebody is doing. That distinction right there, it is everything. Let's put these side by side. So on the left, you've got your state verbs like know or have or see. They describe a state of being. And on the right, you've got your action verbs like run, listen, watch. These describe a process, something you're actually doing. And here's the kicker, the big rule to remember. State verbs almost never use that continuous ing form.
Now, to make this way easier to remember, we can break down pretty much all the state verbs into three main buckets.
First, we're going to look at feelings and emotions. Then we'll talk about perception, the five senses. And finally, we'll wrap up with thoughts and possession.
Okay, first up, feelings and emotions. We're talking about verbs like love, hate, want, prefer. These all describe our emotional state. They aren't actions you perform, they're feelings you just have.
And here's where you can really see it in action. You wouldn't normally say, I'm liking this music. It just sounds a bit clunky. Instead, you say, I like this music. It's a state. Same for questions. It's, do you want to go? Not, are you wanting to go?
All right, group number 2 is all about perception. Think about your five senses. These verbs describe the information that our senses are just picking up automatically. It's an involuntary state, not something you're actively trying to do.
For instance, you don't say, we were hearing someone outside. The sound just happened. So you say, we heard someone. Same with taste. The spaghetti isn't doing anything, it just tastes delicious. That's its state. Now, let's get to our final group. And our last category? It's a big one. Thoughts and possession. This covers all those mental states like know or believe, and also states of ownership like have or own. You can see it really clearly with these examples. You either believe her or you don't. It's a state. So we say, I don't believe her. And when have means you possess something, you ask, how long has she had it, not been having it? But, and this is a big but, this is where things start to get really interesting.
Because, like any good rule in English, this one was made to be bent. And these aren't just mistakes. They're these fascinating little nuances that all depend on what the verb actually means at that exact moment. This is where the meaning is absolutely everything. Seeing a bird is involuntary, it just flies into your vision. But looking at the bird, that's an intentional action. You're choosing to do it. Same with hearing versus listening. Since looking and listening are actions, they can totally use the ing form. The verb have is a classic chameleon. When it means possession, it's a state verb. She has a car. Simple. But when have is part of an experience or an action, like having a bath, having dinner, having a party, then it becomes an action verb. He's having a bath. Totally fine. And think works the exact same way. If I'm asking for your opinion, it's a state. What do you think of my idea? But if I'm asking about the active process happening in your head right now, it's an action. What are you thinking about? See the difference? And finally, there's this small group of verbs for physical feelings, like feel or ache, that kind of play by their own rules. With these, honestly, both forms are perfectly okay. You can say, I feel ill, or I am feeling ill, and nobody's going to bat an eye. Both are correct. Okay, so we have covered a lot of ground here, from the big main rule to all of its clever little exceptions. But if you only remember one thing from all this, let it be this next simple test. Seriously, anytime you're not sure whether you can stick an ing on the end of a verb, just ask yourself this one simple question. Is this verb describing a state of being, or is it describing an action?
If it's a state, you're going to want to stick to the simple tense. If it's an action, then the continuous form is your best friend. Simple as that.
So there you have it. You're now in on the secret of stative verbs. And it just goes to show you that grammar isn't always about rigid, breakable rules. A lot of the time, it's a really flexible system that's all about meaning. Which kind of makes you wonder, what other English rules are out there just waiting to be bent?